Okay, good evening. Today I'm gonna read the book Intuitive Awareness by Ajahn Sumedho. Observing attachment. Consciousness is what we are all experiencing right now. This is the bounding experience that we all have right at this moment. Consciousness is about the realm of form. We experience consciousness through form. When we contemplate the four elements, dhatu, earth, water, fire, air, and adding two more gives us space and consciousness. This is a totality of experience in terms of an individual human being. The physical condition of a body and the physical realm which we live in is a combination of these four elements combined with space and consciousness. We can contemplate the four elements in our own body as a way of looking at the body as a way where one does not see it as a personal identity or as something belonging to oneself. Space and consciousness have no boundaries. They are infinite. Consciousness, then, is what we are using in meditation in order to contemplate the way things are. We get very confused because consciousness is not something we can get hold of in the way that we can see earth, water, fire, and air, or conditions of the mind, emotions. Because we are conscious, we can actually be aware of thoughts and emotions, or the body as it exists and manifests at the present moment. Sometimes we think of consciousness in a very limited way, just as arising through contact via the eye, ear, nose, etc., just in terms of sensory consciousness. In this case, consciousness is very much limited to perceiving through the senses, but it is possible to begin to recognize consciousness that is not attached to distances, which is what I point to when I refer to the sound of silence. When you begin to notice that sound, then there's consciousness that is unattached. As you sustain awareness with the sound of silence, then you find you can begin to reflect and get perspective on your thoughts, emotions, feelings, sense activity, and experience which all arise in consciousness in the present. This is important to recognize that this is something really wonderful that we can do. The whole point of the samana or renunciant life really is aimed at this kind of realization. Of course, obstructions come with our commitment to the delusions that we create. The strong sense of being a separate self, identification with the body as being who we are, and our emotional habits, thoughts, and feelings by which we create ourselves, whereby we derive a sense of having a personality which we tend to identify with and which we've allowed to push us around. This is why I encourage you to test and relax into this awareness that comes when we recognize the sound of silence. Just rest in this state of openness and receptivity. Don't attach to the idea of it. You can attach to the idea of the sound of silence and of attaining something with it, or keep creating some false illusions around it. This is not it. It is not a matter of trying to make anything out of it, but of fully opening to this present moment in a way that is unattached. This recognition of non-attachment is something you know through your awareness rather than through a description. All one can say it is things like, don't attach to anything and let go of everything. But then people attach and say, we shouldn't be attached to anything. And so they attach to the idea of non-attachment. We are so committed to thinking and trying to figure everything out in terms of ideas, theory, technique, party line, and Theravada approach. And so it goes on and on like that. And we bind ourselves to the conditions even though the teaching is about letting go or non-attachment. This is why I really encourage you to observe attachment. Trust yourself in this awareness. And rather than holding to views that one shouldn't be attached, recognize that attachment is like this. In the early days, I used to practice attaching to things intentionally, just so that I would know what attachment is like, rather than having some idea that I shouldn't be attached to anything, and then in some desperate way, always trying to be detached, which would have only been self-deception as the basic delusion that gave rise to the attachment had not been penetrated. Thinking I am someone who is attached and I shouldn't be is an attachment, isn't it? I am a monk who has all these attachments, these hang-ups, and they are obstructions, and I shouldn't be attached to them. I've got to get rid of them, let go of them. The attachment to that results in you fooling yourself and endlessly disappointing yourself because you cannot do it that way. It doesn't work. This is why I emphasize this pure state of consciousness. Now, don't just take it for granted. Don't try to figure it out or think about it very much. Learn to just do it. Just contact this resonating sound or vibration. Learn to say with it for a count of 5, or practice so that you get used to it and appreciate it. If you really cultivate it, it gives you this state where you begin to be conscious without being attached, so that the conditions which arise in consciousness may be seen in the perspective of arising and ceasing. When we let go and just abide in pure, unattached consciousness, this is also the experience of love, unconditioned love. Pure consciousness accepts everything. It is not a divisive function. It doesn't have preferences of any sort. It accepts everything and every condition for what it is, the bad, the good, the demons, anything. So when you begin to trust in it, the metta bhavana practice comes alive. Rather than just spreading good thoughts and altruistic ideas, it becomes very practical and very real. For what do we mean by love? To many people, love is the ultimate attachment. When you love somebody, you want to possess them. Often, what passes for love in modern consciousness is a very strong attachment to another person, thing or creature. If you really want to apply this word to that which accepts, then you have metta, love which is unattached, which has no preferences, which accepts everything and sees everything as belonging. When you begin to trust in awareness, the conscious moment that is infinite, then everything belongs in it. From the perspective of this conscious being, whatever arises in this consciousness is accepted and welcome, whether it's through the senses from the outside or from inside. The emotional and physical conditions which becomes conscious in this present moment. The sense of love, acceptance, and non-judgment accepts everything that you are thinking, feeling, and experiencing. It allows everything to be what it is. When we don't allow things to be as they are, then we are trying to get something that we don't have or get rid of something that we don't want. So in terms of purifying the mind, consciousness is already pure. You don't need to purify it. You don't have to do anything. You begin to not identify by not holding on to the conventional view of yourself as being this person, this way, this condition, this body. These views begin to drop away. They are not the way things really are. In terms of meditation, if you trust in awareness, then certain things come out into consciousness. Some of them are worries, resentments, self-consciousness, memories of various kinds, all kinds of bright ideas or whatever. Our relationship to them is accepting, embracing, allowing. In terms of action and speech, the good we act on when we can and the bad we don't. We accept both, non-critically. That to me is what love is, it is non-critical. That applies most to what arises in my consciousness, my own karma, emotions, feelings, and memories which arise in the moment. Behind it all is the sound of silence. It's like this enormous, vast, infinite space that allows things to be what they are, because everything belongs. The nature of condition is to arise and cease. That is the way it is. So we don't demand that they are otherwise or complain because we would like to hold on to the good stuff and annihilate the bad. Our true nature is pure. When we begin to realize and fully trust and appreciate this, we see that this is real. This is not theoretical, abstract, or an idea. It is reality. Consciousness is very real. This is not something you create. This is consciousness. This is consciousness right away. That you are conscious is a fact. It is just the way it is. The conditions that we might be experiencing may be different. One person may be happy, another sad, confused, tired, depressed, worrying about the future, regretting the past, and so on. Who knows all of the various conditions that are going on in all of us at this moment? Only you know what is occurring in your particular experience now. Whatever it is, good or bad, whether you want it or not. This is the way it is. So then your relationship to it may be through this purity of being rather than identifying with the condition. You can never purify the condition. You cannot make yourself a pure person. This is not where purity is. When you try to purify yourself as a person, it is a hopeless task, like trying to polish a brick to make it into a mirror. This is demanding impossible. It is demanding the impossible, which means you will fail and be disappointed. This is where the awkward state is the original purity. In other words, you have always been pure. You have never ever for one moment been impure. Even if you are a serial killer, the worst demon in the universe, you are still pure because that purity is impossible to destroy. The problem lies not in becoming impure, but in attachment to the illusion that we create in our mind. The demon is so attached to being a demon that he forgets his original purity, this present here and now. Not looking for answers, not asking for favors. I used to hate the feeling of being confused. Instead, I love having a sense of certainty and mental clarity. Whenever I felt confused by anything, I would try to find some kind of clear answer to get rid of emotional state of confusion. I would distract myself from it or try to get somebody else to give me the answer. I wanted the authorities, the ajahns, the big guys to come and say, that's right, that's wrong, that's good, that's bad. I wanted to be clear and needed somebody, an authority figure that I trusted and respected to straighten me out. Sometimes we think that things like good teachers, meditation retreats, the precepts, the refuge, or a wonderful sangha are going to make us really happy and solve all our problems. We reach out for help from outside, hoping this and that will do it for us. It's like wanting God to come and help us out of the mess. And then when He doesn't come and solve our problem, we don't believe in God anymore. I asked Him to help and He didn't. This is a childlike way of looking at life. We get ourselves into trouble and expect mommy and daddy to come and save the day, to clean up the mess we have made. One time, years ago, I became very confused when I found out that one of our American Buddhist nuns had left our community and become a born-again Christian. I had just been saying to another nun, she's really wonderful, she's so wise, she's so pure-hearted. She would be a great inspiration to you in your nun's life. I was really embarrassed and confused when I heard the news. I thought, how could she fall for it? I remember asking my teacher Ajahn Chah, how could she do that? He looked at me with a mischievous smile and say, maybe she's right. He made me look at what I was doing, feeling defensive and paranoid, wanting a clear explanation, wanting to understand, wanting him to tell me that she's betrayed the Buddhist religion. So I started to look at the confusion. When I began to embrace it and totally accept it, it dropped away. Through acknowledging and the emotional confusions, it ceased being a problem. It seems to dissolve into thin air. I became aware of how much I resisted confusion as an experience. In meditation, we can notice these difficult states of mind, not knowing what to do next or feeling confused about practice, ourselves or life. We practice not trying to get rid of these mind states, but simply acknowledging what they feel like. This is uncertainty, insecurity, grief, and anguish. This is depression, worry, anxiety, fear, self-aversion, guilt, or remorse. We might try to make a case that if we were a healthy, normal person, we wouldn't have these emotions. But the idea of a normal person is a fantasy of the mind. Do you know any really normal people? I don't. The Buddha spoke instead of one who listens, who pays attention, who is awake, who is attentive here and now, one whose mind is open and receptive, trusting in the present moment and in oneself. This is his encouragement to us. Our attitude towards meditation need not to be one of striving to get rid of things, our defilements, our kilesas, our faults, in order to become something better. It should be one of opening up, paying attention to life, experiencing the here and now, and trusting in our ability to receive life as experience. We don't have to do anything with it. We don't have to straighten out all the crooked parts, solve every problem, justify everything, or make everything better. After all, there will always be something wrong when we are living in the conditioned realm with me, with the people I live with the monastery, with the retreat center, with the country. Conditions are always changing. We will never find any permanent perfection. We may experience a peak moment when everything is wonderful and just what we want it to be. But we cannot sustain the conditions of that moment. We cannot live at the peak point of inhalation. We have to exhale. The same applies to all the good things of life, happy times, loving relationships, success, good fortune. These things are certainly enjoyable and not to be despised, but we shouldn't put our faith in something that it is in process of changing. When it reaches a peak, it can only go in the other direction. We are asked not to take refuge in wealth, other people, countries, or political system, relationships, nice houses, or good retreat centers. Instead, we are asked to take refuge in our own ability to be awake, to pay attention to life, no matter what the conditions might be in the present moment. The simple willingness to acknowledge things for what they are, as changing conditions, liberated us from being caught in the power of attachment, in struggling with the emotions and thoughts that we are experiencing. Notice how difficult it is when you are trying to resist things all the time, trying to get rid of bad thoughts, of emotional states, of pain. What is the result of resisting? When I try to get rid of what I don't like in my mind, I become obsessed by it. What about you? Think of somebody you really cannot stand, someone who really hurts your feelings. The very conditions of feeling angry and resentful actually obsess our minds with that particular person. We make a big deal out of it, pushing. The more we push, the more obsessed we become. try this out in your meditation. Notice what you don't like, don't want, hate, or are frightened of. When you resist these things, you are actually empowering them, giving them tremendous influence and power over your conscious experience of life. But when you welcome and open up to the flow of life in both its good and bad aspects, what happens? I know from my experience that when I'm accepting and welcoming of conditioned experience, things drop away from me. They come in and they go away. We are actually opening the door, letting in all the fear, anxiety, worry, resentment, anger, and grief. It doesn't mean that we have to approve of or like what is happening. It is not about making moral judgment. It is simply about acknowledging the presence of whatever we are experiencing in a welcoming way, not trying to get rid of it by resisting it, and not holding on it or identifying with it. When we are totally accepting of something as it exists in the present, then we can begin to recognize the cessation of those conditions. The freedom from suffering that the Buddha talked about isn't in itself and it's not in itself an end to pain and stress. Instead, it's a matter of creating a choice. I can either get caught up in the pain that comes to me, attach to it, and be overwhelmed by it, or I can embrace it and through acceptance and understanding, not add more suffering to existing pain, the unfair experiences, the criticisms or misery that I face. Even after his enlightenment, the Buddha experienced all kinds of horrendous things. His cousin tried to murder him. People tried to frame him, blame him, and criticize him. He experienced severe physical illness, but the Buddha didn't create suffering around those experiences. His response was never one of anger, resentment, hatred, or blame, but one of acknowledgement. It has been a really valuable thing for me to know. It taught me not to ask for favors in life or to hope that if I meditate a lot, I can avoid unpleasant experience. God, I have been a monk for 33 years. Please reward me for being a good boy. I've tried that and it doesn't work. To accept life without making any pleas is very liberating. It's very liberating because I no longer feel a need to control or manipulate conditions for my own benefit. I don't need to worry or feel anxious about my future. There's a sense of trust and confidence, a fearlessness that comes through learning to trust, to relax, to open to life, and to investigate experience rather than to resist or being frightened by it. If you're willing to learn from the suffering in life, you will find the unshakability in your own mind. Ajahn Sumedho also have a microphone. Okay.
Hello. All right. Ajahn Sumedho, that was really beautiful, his explaining consciousness. And the way he explained love and compassion for others, but through this non-attached love, focusing or being aware of consciousness, which is a big part of my practice. And I like this metaphor of like universal consciousness, like the sun. And people are buckets of water, and the sun is shining on these buckets of water. Some buckets have some soil in them, some have like ripples, and these are the ignorance, the veil of ignorance in the buckets. But if the buckets are clean, and if the surface is clear, they're reflecting the sun perfectly. So I'm wondering, it's more like mysticism almost, like Ajahn Sumedho is getting really deep into it. Does he practice, because there's only one sun, so universal consciousness, only one consciousness. Is that something Ajahn Sumedho practices?
I'm shy to say I know that he does or he doesn't, but from my experience of listening to his Dhamma talks, it's kind of like consciousness cannot be divided like you cannot claim consciousness to be yours.
Exactly.
And that means that, because if you claim consciousness to be yours, it means that, oh, I possess this consciousness that is separated from others' consciousness. So that create the problem, create a, how do you say?
A duality.
Create a conflict, or kind of like, because I think that the way that Luang Por Sumedho refers to the consciousness is the same that you can find reference about the Nibbana in the sutta. Because if you divide consciousness, so like Ajahn Buddhadasa's talk that I read the other day, like if you can claim consciousness, if you can claim Nibbana, so that's so that will create some problem in the sutta, because the sutta say that, okay, there's unformed, uncreated. What else? Ajahn? The Nibbana Sutta. Unformed, unchanged, unconditioned, uncreated. That if you as yourself can claim, so that's make the problem. What is the origin of you? Who create you? Like, yeah. See. So and that explain. Okay. No more theoretical saying. Okay, come to the practice. If we still can, like in Luang Por's talks, if we can still claim the consciousness, it's like we as a separate entity from the rest of the universe has to do something. Yeah, to me, at the beginning, that's good thought to begin with. But in the end, like my teacher, Luang Por Chandi, when he talked about this, he have a simile of, it's like you try to planting a tree, and many trees are orchards. You water it, you give them some fertilization, you give them some food, give them some sun. But not only the trees that grow, all the weeds are grow together. You cannot divide, okay, I will water only my tree, and all the weeds, you cannot get the water that I give to the tree, right? It's go together, it's there. But then when you notice, oh, that's weed, you just take the weed out, just that. It's like we practice, and then, okay, at first we have sense of self together with us. Oh, I have to do something, I have to do meditation, so and so, I have to, quote unquote. But then in the later state, if you attach to the idea of I have to, like Luang Por Sumedho talk about, you will become obsessed with that idea, and it create a loophole that it's like what I'm talking about. This, my perfectionist mind told me that I shouldn't be perfectionist. So it creates a loophole. You cannot find the end out of it. Just trust the awareness. And the awareness is the background that nobody can claim. It's like the space in this hall. When we come into this hall, we just notice all the mass, the Buddha Rupa, the floor, the Dhamma, the Bodhi tree.
Yes.
It's, only few of us notice the space.
Right.
How can we trust the background noise? That is the base of everything. Like Luang Por Sumedho start the talk with, like, everything comprised of 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and air. And in other of his talk, he's kind of like, without consciousness, even space and the four elements cannot be, how do you say, cannot be manifest without space. How do you refer to, oh, that fire is there, that earth is there, oh, this human being is comprised of earth, water, fire, and air, and sitting there. And without consciousness, that space too cannot even become, like, exist. And I don't know that. I wonder if Ajahn Sumedho have something to add. The reason that I choose this book because there's an translation of this book in Thai, really good translation and it hit me almost every single paragraph. I just realized, oh, Ajahn Sumedho, it's like he read my mind. Oh, one of the other talk that I didn't read, but I remember he talking about in the past he kind of like has his dream of, because he's graduate in master degree here in University of California, if I remember correctly, and after he ordained in Thailand, he will get this dream again and again that, oh, the examination is around the corner. I have to read. I have to be prepared for the examination. I should not be in the party. I shouldn't be happy. I should be try to, like, force myself to read and anything. And he woke up. Oh, no more. I graduate. I become a monk. But that strike with me because I have the same kind of dream that, oh, tomorrow is an examination, I have to read. And then I woke up, no, I'm in California. That's 15 years ago. And then, yeah, the mind can obsess with something that you think about it again and again and again and again. That really shows us that this is the result of the karma. So just be careful. If you think about it, you might think, just thinking. But you thinking about it over and over again, it will create karma. That's a really beautiful teaching that Paul Sumedho gave. And then he hit me again, the next paragraph, but don't attach to the idea that, oh, I should get rid of it. I should get rid of my defilements. I should get rid of my trust in your awareness. He always repeat this sentence, trust in your awareness. Because if you not trust in your awareness, you use your kind of intellectual part of your brain to overplan, overthink about, oh, I should practice in this way and that way. Okay, that's good, but you have to know the limitation of it. So that, yeah, he, throughout the book, he will talk about, oh, the practice should be like this and like that, and then so and so on, and then he hit me. But you shouldn't attach to that idea. That's why I love this book.
Is there any way to differentiate between resistance and just accepting everything to be just as it is, and like allowing pain? How do you know when you're creating resistance, or is it just something that has to arise that you should just allow to be just as it is?
Are you suffer or not? If you suffer, that means you're creating something.
So if there is pain, then
suffer. I mean mental suffer, not physical suffering. Like physical suffering, even the Buddha experienced physical suffering. He has illness and so on, but he didn't cling to it. like when you start to suffer, mourn, or that's too bad. That is a sign of you creating something out of this natural phenomena. I mean, in practice, I believe many of us, including me, we kind of project ourselves all the way, like very long leap to the end of the practice. Like, oh, I should be like this. But on the way, we look over it. But yeah, come back. Like that's why Luang Por keep telling us, trust in your awareness. Because like when you listen to his talk, like the first or two first paragraphs, he kind of put out the idea how to practice. But then he will end with, but don't attach to that idea too much. Don't think about it too much. There's another talk that titled, don't think too much. Yeah, you have to find your balance in like investigating how can I practice without sense of self. It's really hard, and I think it's how do you say? It's beneficial to investigate in that way, because like most of us, we practice in hope of being a better self. That's good, but in the end, like when I talk, in the end you have to take off all of these weeds that grow together with your plant, with your trees. Yeah. So don't think about it too much. Oh, Luang Por Sumedho say I shouldn't be attached to anything. Again, I, quote unquote, shouldn't be. That's still I. So okay, that's hard, but yeah, it's something that's good to take note about it.